Hi folks, today I thought I'd give you a little bit of a primer of what to do when you're running on a track. So most workout plans are going to have some level of track work in them. Now you don't have to have a track. So if you're saying, oh my gosh, I can't get to a track, whatever, you don't have to have a track. You can certainly use GPS, you can certainly do fartleks. Running is mostly about duration and effort more than it is about being very specific on the paces and everything that you're going to get. But I prefer to run on a track if I can for a lot of reasons, so I'm going to go over it in case you want to run on a track. So first thing you want to know is that most of your tracks, outdoor tracks, are going to be, if I can point over here, 400 meters in length is a typical outdoor track, and a typical indoor track is 200 meters. You will occasionally find tracks that are different, but the vast majority of the time, if it's outside, it's 400 meters. If it's inside, it's 200 meters. And that is measured on the inside lane. So that's very important because every lane you go out gets to be farther and farther around. So if you're supposed to be running, say, 400 meters, to make it easy, you're supposed to run 400-meter intervals, but you run in lane 3, you're not going to do 400 meters. You're probably going to do, I'm going to guess, around 415. So 15 more meters is going to add a little bit of time every single time that you do that. So again, 400 meters, 200 meters, it is measured on the inside lane. Now, a couple other suggestions. Number one, use time, not pace. So when you're doing track work, it'll say something like 800 meters in 5 minutes or whatever that number is. You want to use that as time, even though you could convert that to a pace. You don't want to use pace on the track because the track is already measured to tell you how far you're going. So why is that? GPS, any place, is really not as accurate as you might think you are. Now, if you're trying to send a missile 6,000 miles, GPS is pretty accurate, and they're paying a lot more than a few $100 for that GPS. On a track, it's not going to be. So here's an example of track work I did just today, and you can see if I can point up in here. At some points in time, it had me running through the grandstands. If you look down below, you will see some times where I was running in the grass. So GPS, it's fairly close, but it's really not that accurate. And the other benefit of using time is that you can really learn a lot more about pacing and what things feel like because you know exactly what you're doing by knowing exactly where you're at the track and checking your time relative to what it's supposed to be. So I really recommend do not use GPS on the track. So here's kind of the best drawing I could find of a track, and you will see that on the track there are going to be markers every 100 meters. You're usually going to look for a spot where there's going to be a big one. It'll be lane 1, the inside lane, 2, 3, 4. When you see that lane 1, let's go down in here if I can point right, there'll be a 1. The next one up, there's going to be another one. When you do the curve, there's another one. There's going to be 4 markers. So every one of those markers is 100 meters. If you're doing 400 meters, you could start at any one of those. But let me give you an example how that might work. Let's say that you're supposed to do 1,000 meters in 5 minutes. So first question, if it's a 400-meter track and you need to run 1,000 meters, how do you do that? Yep, you're going to run 2 1/2 laps. That would be your 1,000 meters. And when you do this, when you hit the 200-meter mark, you ought to be at about 60 seconds. At 400 meters, or 1 complete lap is 2 minutes. 600 meters, 4 minutes, 800 meters, there is your 5 minutes. So when you're running by time, when you hit that first 200-meter mark, you can kind of glance at your watch. And if you're supposed to be at 60 seconds and you're at 62, you know you need to pick it up just a little bit. Conversely, if you're at 58, you know that you're going just a little bit too fast. But I'll guarantee after a while of running by time and really listening to what's your breathing like, what's your footfall like, what's the cadence like, what's the effort feel like, you really become a lot better at pacing because it's not going to have the variance that GPS is going to have. Now, one last tip I'll give you on the track. So I mentioned, let's say it's supposed to be 60 seconds, you're at 52, 58, you go, what difference is 2 seconds? It can actually be a fairly big difference. So let's say, for the sake of example, you're supposed to run 400 meters in 1 minute and 55 seconds. That's a 7:42 pace. Let's say you actually run that 400 meters in 1 minute and 47 seconds. You go, well, that's only 8 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. But that 8 seconds drops you all the way down to a 7:10 pace for what a mile would be. So now you're over 30 seconds a mile faster than you planned or what the plan had you running. That's a pretty significant difference. Now, do I expect that everybody can be good enough that if you're supposed to run 155, you're going to run exactly 155? No. But the goal is to be pretty close to that because if you have a little difference, it's really going to add up over time. So if you haven't been to a track before, I'd encourage you to give it a try. As I said at the beginning, you don't have to have a track. It's more about how long you're going to run, what the effort is you're going to put forward. But I think running on tracks, a lot of fun.